what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it. We're here to talk about the Tigers. LSU getting another big name out of the transfer portal yesterday.
Let's get started with that.
Oh, yeah, let's go ahead and get it started. Good call, Lonnie.
It's time to get to work, courtesy of Tiger Labor and Staffing, where they can help take care of screening, training, payroll, and more. Now, for starters.
That's right, baby. Tiger Labor Staffing. With the shortest waiting period in the industry, Tiger Labor makes it easier to transfer top talent onto your payroll quickly. And Tiger Labor personally vets your workforce of all your staffing needs, whether they're short or long-term. And we're not just forwarding resumes, interviewing, dispatching every morning in person at 5 a.m. Tiger Labor Staffing local. So LSU gets the number 10, so another top 10 player out of the transfer portal as Oklahoma wide receiver Nic Anderson is joining the LSU Tigers. He was the number 5 overall receiver for On 3. He is someone that if you talked to Oklahoma fans this season about the struggling offense, the thing they kept hoping for all year was, I think Nic Anderson's about to be back. Nic Anderson's about to be back. And the offense is finally going to come online because 2 years ago, in 2023, as a freshman, he had 38 catches for 798 and 10 touchdowns. Now, of course, that was with Dillon Gabriel, a great quarterback, and a good offense with Jeff Lebby. He's a freshman All-American. Then this last year, he deals with a quad injury, and he plays in only one game. So he comes here to LSU. Oh, look at that. He's wearing the white and yellows. There you go, guys.
Gold.
He comes here. He comes here. He comes here to LSU and has 2 years, potentially 3 years remaining. If he wanted, he could probably get a medical. But 6'4", 220, big dude. Another great addition to this wide receiver room.
Yeah, it's a great get. It's the guy that had multiple 100-yard games when, he was healthy as a redshirt freshman. He had one game where he had 3 touchdowns. So certainly somebody that can find the end zone. And it continues to add to a room that's got like 10 players right now that you probably feel pretty good about.
Yeah, I do. I want to talk about the wide receiver room as a whole real quick. We also got LSU also got Destyn Hill. Very interesting story on Hill. Jake went to Edna Carr. He's at Florida State, but he's in the 21 recruiting class. For personal matters, he waited 2 years to join Florida State till 23. He started 2 games, played in 10, 6 catches, nothing really kind of hurt. And then in 24, he tore his ACL. So now he's coming back home with 3 years of eligibility remaining, even though he graduated in 20. So you're getting an older individual, a mature individual. But this is also just a pure potential play, right? Like Nic Anderson, you think could come in and potentially immediately start. Barrion Brown could come in and immediately start. I don't know if I can say that about Destyn Hill. It's more of, okay, come home and see what happens. You have a lot of physical potential, but injuries and other things have kind of kept you from showing it thus far.
Yeah, you're right. That's what that is. And that's a player that obviously being from the state of Louisiana, and you're going to give him an opportunity to see if he can fulfill what he has, which is talent. But that's more of I almost say a project because he has been in college football for a long time. But that's not somebody that you're counting on starting in day one. I think Anderson and Brown, you're counting on one of them to try to go compete with Hilton and Anderson and Thomas and the other receivers on this team. It is a loaded group. Kyle Parker's going to be back fully healthy. You signed a couple of receivers in this signing class. Now, also with that being said, it is a loaded room, but they need somebody to emerge to be the number one guy.
Yeah.
Anderson had close to number 1 numbers this year, but he did have Kyron Lacey alongside him. He did have C.J. Daniels. Lacey certainly was the number 1. Also, Mason Taylor kind of, found himself into that conversation, even though he was a tight end. And I know a lot of people want to say, well, Anderson's a slot guy. Football has changed. If you say he's a slot guy, he can't be a number 1, you don't know football. You hadn't watched football in a long time. Like, you go watch the Minnesota Vikings, you know who's in the slot more times than not?
Yeah.
Is Justin Jefferson. All right? That is a mismatch. That is where a lot of teams are starting to put their best receiver because they want their guy on your third best cover guy. So you can be a number 1 making a lot of hay 80% of the time in the slot. So look, it's going to be wide open. Aaron Anderson has every opportunity to go be the number one, but you're adding guys that also have the ability to be a number one guy in the high-powered offense.
So, in terms of kind of more known commodities, you now have in the wide receiver room, okay? You now have Nic Anderson, who's a freshman All-American. You have Barrion Brown, who has the SEC record for the most kick return touchdowns of all time and, good receiving numbers when he has a quarterback to throw.
Hadn't had that in a while.
You have Aaron Anderson, who is, probably the most improved player on LSU last year. You have Xavier Thomas, who remains an exciting returner in and of himself. That's quite the duo back there on kick return if you actually kick it to him. And Xavier Thomas, maybe with another year in the offense, could he take an Aaron Anderson likely? Like, again, that's something to watch out for. Who's your other? Chris Hilton, still in there right now. Deep threat, kind of known quantity. Are there any other kind of guys that have played a lot that are?
Yeah, so Kyle Parker.
I guess Kyle Parker
was
right. I mean,
he was kind of your three until the UCLA game.
He had the deep ball touchdown against UCLA. One of the only ones till Chris Hilton did at the end of the year. So that's 6 guys. Really 5 with real experience, 6 with experience. And then who else? You still got Sheldon Sampson. You got Destyn Hill adding to the mix. No,
Sampson's in the portal.
Okay.
You have Jelani Watkins, who redshirted, Kylan Billiot, who redshirted, and the 2 freshmen coming in.
It's a good room.
Yeah, it's a good room. A lot of potential guys that have shown that they can do it on the biggest stage. But I think the one question you're going to ask all offseason long is,
who wants to be number one?
Who wants to be the guy? Who wants to take over that number one spot? And then you throw, Tre'Davious Green into the mix where he can be. Like that. Mason Taylor was somebody that on third downs, Nussmeier looked for more than maybe anybody.
I'll say this.
So tight end position is going to be crucial here as well.
You get, really, and that's what you're doing. You're investing in Nuss, right? You make these moves when you believe in your quarterback. Any O-line transfers yet? Knew they were hosting some guys because that's got to be the next area that you gotta try to make some headway, and because that's kind of the last thing you need to solidify Nuss. Really, if you could bring in some experience there, that'd be great.
You were, nothing, not committed or anything, but remember Braylon Moore from, I think we talked about this on this show.
That's what I'm saying. I know we've talked about somebody, but
he's crystal ball like 100% to LSU.
Okay,
from where? 3. From Virginia Tech.
Okay.
He came into Virginia Tech as a 3-star, 88.39.
Oh, and he left as a 4-star.
He left as a 4-star, 92.38.
Okay, cool. That would be huge, right? So, yeah, they're definitely investing in Garrett Nussmeier, which is smart. If you believe in your quarterback, you go all in, you put the pieces around him. Look, shout out Todd Landry, listening every morning from Fargo. Bet you there ain't a lot of Landrys up there in Fargo,
Just about to say the same thing.
Great movie.
Show does well, too.
Yeah, people seem to really like it.
I haven't seen the show, but
I haven't
the
either.
movie's
Is that a
great.
Reese Witherspoon joint, the show?
I don't know.
Am I making that up?
Sure.
No.
But to your point about, offensive line, there's still a lot of players that are currently in the portal. You haven't had many commit somewhere. Like you still have open guys right now littered throughout there. So there's going to be an opportunity to get some guys that have played football, that have experience. And you also, you got to trust what you've done in recruiting as well. I mean, you had, last year, had Mubinga had to be thrown into there, and he got better. DJ Chester's somebody that certainly had an up and down year. You got to call it like it is. You hope he takes.
He'll take a big. I mean, there's a huge leap between year 1 and 2.
Yeah,
he's huge.
Certainly in the
he's got
position
the
he played.
goods. Yeah,
but you got to start talking tackles. I mean, you're losing a surefire first rounder, and then somebody in Emory Jones that's going to be, I believe,
might as well have
rounder.
been a first rounder. With how he played. Yeah, I think.
Because all the things you have coming back in the interior.
You've said it in the past. It's like you got to kind of do what Ole Miss did. They had a bunch of returning guys, but then they brought in a bunch of guys who also had experience, and you formed the best line out.
They
of
had
that.
10 guys that had college starts.
Hey, you want to know about fumbling the bag? So I think there are 4 teams that are top 10 in the country in scoring offense and scoring defense. It's Notre Dame, Indiana, Tennessee, all in the playoffs, and then Ole Miss. God, Ole Miss blew it, dude. Ole Miss absolutely blew it. My God. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, Again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.